Hi, you 10. So today we're going to have a little talk about your reflection statements and how to write up a reflection statement. Now, you should have been given or shown a little bit of a sample, and what I'm going to do today is work through that sample so that everybody has an understanding of what they should be writing when they do a reflection. So basically, before I started writing this or before I had created any reflection statement at all, I had a little think about what techniques I had actually used in my text, what the concept behind my text was, so what meaning I had tried to convey, and then how I had done that through techniques. So here I've got 5 techniques that I'm going to include in this reflection statement. So all I've done here is I've created the scaffold on this side, which you should have on that sheet, and I've got the actual sample here on this side. Okay, so I'm going to read through and then I'm going to tell you how it matches up to all of this stuff in the scaffold. Now, the first thing you need to do in a reflection, and remembering a reflection is literally just telling people why you chose to make what you made and how it links back to the text that you've been studying in class. So, the first thing we have to do is write an introduction. Now, the short film that I chose to go with was called The Black Hole. It's one that I found on YouTube, and I just thought it would be a good one to sort of pretend that I had made it, so I can give you guys an example of how to do a reflection. So, our short film, The Black Hole, so notice over here in my introduction, I needed to give my title. I've done that straight away. So, the short film, The Black Hole, was influenced by science fiction films The Matrix and Jupiter Ascending, directed by the Wachowski sisters. In both The Matrix and Jupiter Ascending, there are parallel worlds that serve to highlight selfishness and human flaws in the real world. In The Black Hole, our group wanted to use the sci-fi genre to show that greed can be one of our worst flaws. Okay, so going back, I've got my title here. Now, what is the purpose of your work? Coming over here, when you made it, what did you set out to teach or show your audience? I wanted to show that greed can be one of our worst flaws, and I did it using the sci-fi genre because my third question here is what films were you influenced by and what did you find particularly interesting about those films? So I found The Matrix and Jupiter Ascending, two films that I wanted to use as my influences, and I found them interesting because they highlight selfishness, human flaws, and they're part of the sci-fi genre, which is one of my favorite film genres. Okay, so there's an introduction. Now the next thing I need to do is create a body. Your scaffold for your body is over here, and you can break it up into 2 paragraphs if you have too much to say. Now you have a 500-word reflection, so you may need to break it up into 2 paragraphs. So I'm going to read through it, and then after I've read through it, I'm going to go back and show you how I've incorporated some of the things that are in the scaffold. So the black hole follows our protagonist. Now notice I will keep going, but notice I'm using language that is really what we call meta language. So it's English language. Instead of saying main character, I'm using the term protagonist because it's sort of a bit more formal. So the black hole follows our protagonist over 1 minute as he finds a portal that allows him to steal whatever he wants, and the items he takes become increasingly more serious as his greed grows. In the Wachowski sisters' film, protagonists are introduced to a portal into new worlds only after the establishment of mundane settings in which the protagonists work repetitive jobs. These settings juxtapose the exciting, unrealistic worlds we are introduced to as the films progress. We aim to copy these settings using bright lighting and shooting the black hole in an office to highlight the character's boredom. With limited budget and ability to incorporate special effects like the Wachowski sisters, we used a piece of paper with a black circle on it as a prop and transformed the creation of another world into the ability to steal anything from our own. We achieved this through the editing software on iMovie to make the man's hand disappear. Okay, so I'm going to break down that little paragraph now. Notice again I keep bringing it back to the title of my work. Now it says, one sentence on the plot of the film. Here's my one sentence. The black hole follows our protagonist over 1 minute as he finds a portal that allows him to steal whatever he wants, and the items he takes become increasingly more serious as his greed grows. So I've told you what's happening in the plot, and I've also tried to link it to the meaning of my film a bit, where I talk about greed because that's the main theme. Explain what the next bit I need to do is explain why you chose to make the film you have made. Choose 2 scenes maybe. Okay, so in this scene particularly, I'm talking about the office. I'm talking about why I chose the location of the office, which is one of my techniques down here. I've talked about why lighting is used to show that it's really like a boring place that then becomes more exciting as soon as he finds this other world. The ideas that I'm trying to represent come through from the Wachowski sisters film here, where they use different sort of worlds in the sci-fi genre. So both of the films that I'm interested in, The Matrix and Jupiter Ascending, have another world which I had no money to represent. So I did it, or I chose to use iMovie to create a world that people can't really see, but where you're able to go through and steal stuff. Okay? So basically, that's me trying to pull together all of the techniques I've used and how the Wachowski sisters, or the way they've created a world, um, can sort of be represented in my work as well. Now, I'm going to read this last paragraph here, and then we'll move on to the conclusion, and then I'll be done. Okay. The title The Black Hole has a double meaning, where the hole itself acts as a portal and as a metaphor for the greed the protagonist shows when he can't stop stealing. Much like Neo in The Matrix, once our character has a taste of what the portal has to offer, there is no turning back. However, unlike Neo, the character in the black hole is selfish, and that leads to his own humorous entrapment in the safe when he finally falls through the hole. We used close-ups of his facial expressions to show his growing greed as he steals from the safe. The black hole and its abilities were represented through sound effects that we chose in line with science fiction films. In Jupiter Ascending, the Wachowskis introduced scenes in the parallel world through the sound of spaceships. We chose not to use dialogue or music in our film, instead focusing only on the sound of the black hole itself. We edited in the soft buzzing of a lightsaber from YouTube, as this is a movie sound that people recognize from the sci-fi genre, and it also is quite similar to the sound of battle scenes in Jupiter Ascending. Okay, so here, explain how the film choices were influenced by the films you studied in class. How does your film link to any of the themes or main ideas in the Autuer study? How does it do this? Now, up here I'd started doing it, but down here I really get stuck into looking at the character and how things like close-ups, all of my different techniques over here, camera shots and sound effects and props, have helped to create the film that I wanted to create in line with the sci-fi genre, which was influenced by the Wachowskis. Okay, obviously I have no money, so I also want to tell people things like that the choices we made were we were limited. And so we had to get creative about the way that we wanted to use things in terms of like even just using YouTube clips. And in a reflection, it's a really personal thing. So you can tell us about those choices and why you had to do those things, and that's fine. As long as you're telling us what techniques and what choices you made in line with whatever film it was that you studied. All right, finally, the conclusion. Overall, I'm proud of the final film we created. And this is like the personal voice where you actually say, like give a personal overview of what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy. You can say that you found this to be a process that wasn't your favorite process to go through, but you have to explain why. In English, the bottom line is always you have to explain why or how. So, my final conclusion, what I would do differently or what aspects of the film I'm really proud of, goes like this. Overall, I'm proud of the final film we created. With limited time, we were able to create a movie that was both conceptual and technical. We enjoyed working as a group, but next time I would prefer not to try and emulate a film from the sci-fi genre, as it took us a long time to work out how to create disappearing effects with very little time or money. So I'm proud of my film, but there were issues that next time I would know not to, or to change. So I hope that helps everybody. You'll have your scaffold ready to go when you create your own reflection, and you can have a read through this again to make sure that you're hitting all the dot points you need to hit. And good luck. I look forward to watching some of your films when you're finished. Bye.